Sweet. Welcome back to Colors or Crutch. My name is Max Sternberg, also known as Wounded and I'm joined by my beautiful, handsome, incredible co-host, Jordan Drake, aka Steeleddragon, aka fucking amazing tournament player. You'll notice that my setup is a little different today, and my camera quality is garbage, and I have a bed frame behind me. My month's been terrible. A lot of things have gone wrong, and I thought it was going to be over, and it's not over. I came back from Steel City, and now, on top of my massive list of things that have gone wrong, my central AC in the house decided to go out. So I have a personal air conditioner in my room, and the rest of my house is really fucking hot, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I'm on my computer in my bed and doing the best I can. I apologize for the quality. Please deal with it. I don't know. How are you doing, Jordan?
Doing good. It's always like a whirlwind, right? Because you disappear to like you have your real life, and then you go play Magic, and sometimes it feels like you step into like almost an alternate dimension where Magic is the priority, and then you have this like wonderful weekend, and you meet all these people, and you're talking to everybody, and you're playing a lot of games, and then you show back up to work on Monday, and it's right back to like your normal 9 to 5 and doing your day-to-day job, and the juxtaposition between those is kind of jarring sometimes.
Yeah, it's really different. I mean, I get to have a little bit more Magic built in. I guess you also do coaching, but like doing some Magic coaching and stuff like that kind of keeps it involved in my life. I don't play as many casual games anymore. I don't think you play quite as many casual games as you used to either. So it definitely is like, oh, I've stepped into tournament mode and I'm back to regular life mode.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like weird. It feels like, I don't know. It reminds me of that scene from Avatar where like Sully's like, I don't even know what's real anymore. Sometimes I feel like which part of my life is actually the important part, because I'm like, okay, well, the 9 to 5 job actually pays for my house and my kiddo and, my wife and pays for everything. But Magic's where I feel like my heart is all the time and where my passion is. And so it's like, it's just weird. It's kind of a weird position sometimes where it's like that's what I wish I could make my priority and more of my priority. And unfortunately, I have real life responsibilities to where I can't. But then when I'm there for the weekend, I'm so locked in and I'm just talking to people. And this event was really cool. I really think the Steel City, and we'll talk a lot about it throughout this show, but Steel City was very different from I think most other CEDH events I've ever been to, where it was
really well run.
It was so well run, and it was. I think Sam Black said it best, right? Like if you've ever made an event to feel like a Magic Con or an SCG Con, Steel City did it as close to as I've seen it.
Yeah, and they did it in a way which I do have to mention. I loved you throwing in pays for your wife there, like Lily isn't the breadwinner of your house. But
not yet.
Not yet. Almost. But they really did it because I mean the big difference in what allows, talking a little bit about TO tournament finance here for a second, what I don't think everyone maybe has a lot of knowledge about. Some people do, some people don't. What allows a lot of those events to actually make money overarchingly in a lot of CDH tournaments, Top Deck, I will give them credit. They really did not make money when they were running events. Like that was one thing that I think they actually did a really good job of paying out pretty much everything to the competitors. Fortunately, the people who ran Top Deck are in very fortunate financial positions. They were not in it for the money. They were in it for the passion. That's the position they were in. But when you're looking at lots of other people who run, store owners who decide to run 10Ks and such like that, they're not doing it purely for the passion. They're also doing it for the money. And, you end up with pretty tight margins a lot of the time when it's like, okay, I'm charging $120 per entry and I'm letting 256 people come. And then I have to rent out this big space and I have to pay these judges and I have to do all these things. It doesn't leave a lot of margin. And that's what's left some issues in some people's eyes, especially because Top Deck set kind of a standard of what prizing should be at different size peoples and such like that, where I'm not talking shit about this event, but I'm just bringing up an example. The Royal Rumble prizing was a little disappointing for some people, where it was a 200-something person event. People flew all the way to Massachusetts, and it was only an 8K. And it was one that we paid over $100 to go to. And people looked at that and they were like, oh, that's so much worse than Top Deck. And it was. I mean, that's accurate that it was. But what really lets people make bigger prize pools is when a lot of the money doesn't just come from the players, it comes from vendors. Like the people who go to SCG cons or were at Steel City buying lots of Magic cards because it was honestly set up very similarly. Those vendors are paying maybe 10 grand to have their store there for those 3 days. and their goal is to buy as many cards as possible. And it's really having a bunch of vendors paying you $5,000 to $10,000 to take a block in that large space where they know there's going to be 1,000 people there buying and selling Magic cards. That's what actually funds the event a lot more than just people buying entry into the main tournament event. They're all parts of the same coin and it's all factored in, but having additional sponsors, vendors, things involved that are pushing in money, that's what's going to let us run really good events and allow us to run them the right way with really good prizing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, there's a reason this was, I think, the biggest prize ever offered for a CEDH event. I don't know if that's true, but 20K, I'm pretty sure, is the biggest that's ever been offered. Yeah. And it speaks to how well Excalibur put on this event. Really just huge credit to them and a really big shout out to all the work they put in. It wasn't, I won't say it was all perfect, but we'll talk about that. But I think, we're kind of nitpicking a little bit because I think the rest of it was so well run. And if this is the future of CEDH, I'm extremely excited for what our future is because, for all the criticisms of CEDH, some valid, some not so, and some of the structural issues that I think they're still trying to figure out. It's growing. It's popular. This is the largest CEDH. This had the largest CEDH event of all time, and that's not even counting the fact that there were 65 other players that could have been in that main event that were sitting in the invitational instead. So this easily could have been a 600-person event or near so, right? So that's awesome. That shows that this format is growing. We're figuring out the kinks still. We're going to still have some growing pains, but I'm excited for the future of CEDH. And I honestly don't know that I could have said that even 3 months ago. But
I'm
coming out of Steel City,
for the fact that the next fucking big event is in goddamn Thanksgiving weekend at Niagara Falls. What kind of a terrible time slot was that? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I've given Baldy my feedback. I looked at him. I said, why would you do this? And he goes, when you're headed the money, you say yes. Like, it's like you don't say no to the correct contract. But yes, he understands there may be some issues with timing for people.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I can get away from family time for that. But yeah. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I came out of this event and I had a blast. And honestly, I've walked away from SCG cons having a blast. And I cannot say I've always had a blast walking away from other tournaments, right? Where it was just like I played, there was like one vendor. I didn't really get any new cards. I just kind of sat around. It's always nice to see people. And I think that's one of the big reasons that kept driving me into tournaments, even after I kind of lost my spark to keep playing. But I don't know. There was just something about Steel City that was really, really special. I think the venue was really well done. Like they picked a great venue for it. Lots of space. It wasn't overcrowded. It wasn't too hot or too cold. It couldn't have asked for a better space, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it was phenomenal. But it was also kind of fucking hilarious to see, like, oh, player meeting, you're in pod 126. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
I can imagine that had to have been interesting. You're like, what? Holy shit! I've never seen above a pod 60 before.
Dude, I did love talking shit to my friends after like round 3 though, because fortunately I did well early in the event, and I was like, oh, you're going to a triple digit table. That sucks.
That's funny.
Oh, it was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, Steel City was a really fun weekend. I agree with everything about it being run well. I didn't even think about that before, but SCGCon really is the perfect comparison for it. The way it was set up, the way the vendors were, honestly, the same vendors were there a lot of the time. Like, you still got TOA Magic and all those ones that you normally see at SCGCons. Then you definitely saw some more CDH-focused stores. And you could also see the card selection brought. They made sure to bring their CDH cards, which was really cool. But even like, what is his name? Trent, the Sisse player. I forget what his actual store is called, but like he was there selling Magic cards. Waffle's hometown store, Tavern of Souls, was there selling Magic cards. Like, definitely stores that focus on CDH were there, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, we had our store, the Gathering Place from North Carolina, was there. Nice. So I mean, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really well done event. The way it was set up was you walked into this hall, and another thing we've talked about, the bag checks. The bag checks were a really cool inclusion that I heard, like, is it an annoyance? Yes. Did I hear a single negative comment about it from anyone? No. Everyone was happy with it. When you went into the event for the first time, where you had not yet received your bracelet with a number on it, they essentially had bracelets that had matching numbers. So every numbered bracelet came with two that had the same number, and they would put one on your wrist and they would put one on your bag. And then every single time you went in or out of the event after that, they would check that the number on your wrist matched the number on your bag, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone loved this. It was a theft prevention thing. It was perfect. It was well done. It really wasn't even that inefficient. Like it hindered you for a few seconds, and it was a really wonderful system that I hope that more people do, especially for these really large events where it's difficult to keep eyes on everything. And that's a big enough giant convention center space. It's not like there's cameras where you could really see what happened super clearly. So I think that was a wonderful theft prevention thing. So you get your bracelet, you go into the venue. Immediately, you're greeted with tables to the left that lead to side events. They had a bunch of events going there on the first day. There were also more tables far to the right that were side events. The entire middle section was dominated by vendors and artists and stuff like that. People selling their tokens, people selling cards, just all kinds of that jazz. And then you got to the main tables in the back of the venue, which is where you had your like 126 pods for the open. And then in the back right corner in a red velvet roped off section was the Invitational's private little section. And then even back beyond all of that, there was a smaller section that had like the streams and such, which was held sort of privately. I guess actually no, that wasn't in the back. That was it was near the front when you first walked in there. But it was a pretty massive space, and it was spaced out correctly. Nothing felt too crowded or hard to get to. Like I didn't bring Suki to this event partially on the thought process that this would just be an exceptionally crowded event and she would be massively uncomfortable, because I've gone to some large events where there's tons of space for Suki, and I've gone to some large events where like I feel bad that I brought her because she has no room to exist. And this is one that honestly I could have brought her and she would have been comfortable and it would have been okay. So that was really nice. There was food options in the convention center, so people were able to get food really quickly, which is super great, as well as just a massive amount of options right near the venue. So there was tons of stuff for people to eat and drink. No one was really held without anything. There was no restrictions on what you could bring in, so everyone could bring in their energy drinks and stuff. I know some larger tournaments that have been held at specific stores have said no outside food or drink, which is an annoyance to some people if they want their specific brand of Monster and someone tells them to throw it away. You know what I mean? So overarchingly, like very well run event. One thing you can do if you go to Twitter, Brittany from the Salt Monolith has been specifically soliciting feedback. She just wants to hear everything everyone has to say so that she can take that feedback to the right people and, help them learn from the experience, both the pros that people liked and the cons of what things people dislike. Because there definitely were some things that, even though we're raving about how well the event was set up, we're learning. It's the first event of this size for CDH, and there's absolutely things that could be done better. So we will go ahead and link to her tweet where she asked for feedback in the description, and you'll be able to connect to her that way. And I'm sure she would appreciate to hear everything you have to offer, as long as it is constructive feedback and not just yelling at bullshit.
Yeah, I honestly, I'd be shocked if anyone does, because, like I said, I think like we're gonna talk about like nitpicking a little bit at some of the little things that can probably be cleaned up for future events. But I think, was this Excalibur's first big event or their first event at all?
I think so.
Yeah, and if this is just the first one, that it's off to an amazing start, right? Like this is.
I'm not sure how Land Go and Excalibur are exactly intertwined or connected or friends or whatever it is. I know Land Go technically bought the rights to like the Boil and the Cookout and the other Top Deck named events. So those will be run by Land Go. Land Go is run by Wayne Young. Wayne Young, phenomenal human being. That is a man I put my trust in. So happy he is going to be running those events. Would I go to another Boil? Absolutely not. If it was run by Top Deck. Will I run by the Boil if it's run by Wayne? Absolutely. Big Wayne fan over here. And Excalibur is another tournament organizer that I feel I can trust as well, and I will be planning on going to their events.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get, because we have a Land Go Invitational. We have a Top Deck Invitational. I wonder if we'll get an Excalibur Invitational at some point as well.
Not quite sure. Also, another thing I want to clarify for people, Excalibur does not have any connection to Top Deck. I know that's something that people assumed based on the Invitational being a part of the event. Top Deck literally paid Excalibur for the right to use part of their venue for the Invitational. That's how this worked. So essentially, Top Deck was a client of Excalibur, but there is no connection of people. It is not owned by any of the same people. It was just a contract, nothing more. Obviously, I do not plan on going to Top Deck events, but I have no problem with Excalibur events. They are separate companies. They are separate entities.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, the only thing from Top Deck I think that was used was the software, and then hosting the invitational space. But
separate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone can use Top Deck software because Top Deck does just have the best software. That's our reality that we live in the CEDH world.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Spice Rack, especially having their security issue, it's really hard to recommend them moving forward.
So I played in the Open. Jordan played in the Invitational. Let's start with the Invitational here. Jordan, let's talk about the journey for you to decide what deck you were playing at the Invitational.
Okay, so yeah, this was a hard one because I was I think it's kind of known now, but I have been working on a new TNT build for a hot minute. I've called it Tree Farm in the long-standing CEDH tradition of everything having to be something farm. And the idea was to take, and you've probably heard it on this channel before, the idea was to take elements from some of my old favorite decks like Marnius and kind of combine them with the Sam Black version of Rogthras and figure out what we could do to make these elements work together, because Cradle is such a busted card. And I figured if I could find a strategy that works to where I can go wide, to where I can both tap Cradle for a bazillion mana, but also have attackers that will finally get Tymna through, because traditionally TNT sucks at attackers that actually trigger our Tymna. We could build a really strong and powerful deck. And so that is what I tinkered with for months and months, trying to figure out a build that works. TK, from Playing with Power, if you know him, is a really good friend of mine, probably one of my best friends in the whole world. And him and I were working on it for a bit. And then I had a buddy from the Paradox server, which is the big TNT server, who helped me kind of refine some of the selections, because my initial list was probably overcooking a little bit. I had like Shatterfang, Warren Soul Trader lines, and we were doing some pretty interesting stuff. Probably not good, but definitely interesting. But we ended up settling on a package of cards that felt really strong. Over the next month or so, I just kind of refined it further, taking it to some small events. And then the idea was to keep it secret till the Invitational. That was my original plan. But I took it to a tournament that ended up catching Datatog's attention, and they posted about it. And then that got everyone asking me about the new secret list. And then people started finding it on EDH Top 16. I guess nothing is ever a secret in this community for long. So my baby got leaked pretty early, and it's been successful. It's seen a lot of success from a lot of different players. And so that's got me pretty excited about the future of the deck. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, I was waffling a little bit towards the end. I actually ran Max's version of Rogthras, his exact list, card for card, identical, at 2 events, both of which I top 16'd. And there were just moments in these games that made me a little wary of the list, just little ones where it was like, I maybe it's just because I wasn't as comfortable on the deck, or maybe it just felt like there were some structural issues with the deck itself, or in terms of like, there's nothing you can do. It's this deck and these colors, and you still need Thrasios at the end of the day to do anything.
I will not accept your claim of structural issues. We talked about how you fucked up.
Well, okay. Well, one of the games I did not. I just drew a bazillion cards and did not find a Flash Enabler, which was wild. Considering I saw like 40 cards and not a single one of them was either a green tutor for a Flash Enabler.
All 3 were in the bottom of your deck. I'm sorry, bro. All were in the bottom of your deck. I apologize.
And the cord and the crop rot for
outs.
Yeah, no, it was
5
nonsense.
outs. Okay, sorry. Whatever. All 5 were
even
in the bottom.
Yeah. I don't even. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, ridiculous. That lost me my top 16 at one of them. Ridiculous. Anyway, I just felt that TNT was probably going to be a little bit better of a meta call for the Invitational. And so waffled for a bit. Max tried to convince me, and it was an epic try. I'll give him that.
I didn't even try that hard. I said I will respect whatever choice you make, but I think you should play Rogthras because it's a better deck.
Yeah. That was your opinion. And honestly, What actually swayed me, and I'll have to thank Callahan personally for this, was Callahan's hate train that he ran on TNT that started on his video and then ended in his Twitter. And it made me go, okay, TNT's being a little disrespected here. And I saw some people hating on the tree farm build itself, which I thought was kind of crazy considering this build's only been out for like a month, maybe. And it's seen a lot of success in its early month. And there was already like kind of a lot of hate for that. So I was like, I'm going to take TNT. It's what won me the Boil 2. It's what I ran almost all season long. I felt like it's what got me to the Invitational. And so it's the deck that I should bring home for the season. So
that was the sentence you said to me primarily that I took home as your main reason was I'm going to play the deck that got me here.
Yeah.
Over everything else.
Yeah. I think it was that and a combination of I just wanted to prove people wrong. And there was some people who were starting to doubt the deck in the servers as well. Like I saw a few Discord servers where it was just like, hey, I don't think this deck has what it takes. And I just kind of wanted to prove that wrong. I felt like the deck was strong, and I felt like I built something. Well, not even I, but we, the three of us that worked on this deck, built something really special. And I wanted to prove it on the biggest stage if I could. So, TNT.
Oh, I love you, but I'm still kind of a doubter in TNT.
That's fair.
I'm
I mean, TNT did put 2 people in the top 16, and how many people did Rocktest put in there? 1? That's right, 1.
Oh, that's crazy. How many TNTs were in the top 16 of the Open?
I don't know.
None.
They were all in the.
There might have been one. Oh yeah, all 3 of you. Dude, I will say it is cool that both of the TNTs that made top 16 in the MV were tree farm builds.
Yes, that was.
Was he on the card for card same list as you, or?
So there's a variation that one of the other builders of the deck, he switched a couple of cards just for his own personal play style, and I want to say Grant was on. I think it's Grant was on that version. So it's like 2 cards difference. But I think I looked at our list and it was I think it's like 4 or 5 cards difference in the ones we ran, and that was after I took out 2 cards that are from the main list that he left in. So that was Oscillate Pride and Charismatic Conquer, which were 2 cards I took out. I made a meta call on that. And Grant left those in. And I did actually miss Conquer in one of my games. Like I was like, yeah, this would be such a great situation for Conquer.
Get out of here.
I'm not even kidding.
I spent the entire month trying to convince Jordan to not play Charismatic Conquer and Ocelot Pride because I think those cards are booty cheeks.
They're so good in the build though.
Inox Strike Leader, bro.
No, Inox sucks. I'm sorry. I will stand on business. Sick. Everyone I've talked to who's tried it said that it's really hard to actually get your tokens to survive. And I think that's one of the biggest aspects to it.
I think I just got cooked by it where a guy had it turn 1 on the play, which is like the most perfect situation for Inox. So I got cooked by Inox, but that's just what happened. So I'm like, oh, this card's good because it destroyed us.
It's probably something I need to take for a test run. And I know Abhi, I don't honestly. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, bro.
I think it's pronounced Abi.
Abi, thank you. That actually makes a lot more sense now that we're saying that. He was running a version. I think he had a version where it went like 6-0-1, where it was running Inox instead of Conquer. I think his list was only like 3 cards different than the one I posted because it was off Toxrill, it was off Charismatic Conquer. Yeah, my initial version had Toxrill. Whoop. And
you tried
do what?
You tried some things.
Dude, Toxrill was kind of fun actually. The amount of people I made scoop to that card, like instantly on the spot scoop, was crazy.
I play that bitch in casual Muldrotha, and people get very upset.
But watching, how many games do you play where CDH players just scoop, not to even like a definitive win attempt? You just put down a card and they're like, "No, fuck that, I'm out." Very rare do I see that in CEDH.
The funny thing is in Rogcrass all the time, but specifically because they're just like, you can make 1 billion mana. I don't want to sit through this.
Yeah, that's basically definitive, right? Once you've made like 1 billion mana, but
they just see double bioanswers. They're like, you got it, bro.
Yeah, I mean honestly, right? Like that's 90% of the time we do have it. Yeah. But like a card that doesn't win the game, it's just obnoxious to play against. It's like a stacks piece, like scooping to a stacks piece. How often does that happen in CEDH? It's pretty rare.
It's fucking obnoxious.
But like, I literally slammed Toxrill in the game, and everyone's like, "Nah, fuck that. Scoop, you got it." And I'm like,
"Okay, we did." I actually have a real question for you. We have not talked about this. One of our potential tech pieces we were considering for the Invitational was 7 mana OG Elishnorn.
We were. We actually were.
Would that have been good looking back on your games?
So game one, I won pretty handedly. It wouldn't have mattered there. Game two, it would have been funny. I don't know if it would have been good, but it would have been funny.
Yeah.
Game three, again, won pretty handedly. It wouldn't have mattered there. Game four, I don't think it would have done anything. Game four, it actually definitely wouldn't have done anything. I didn't even see a turn two, so I'm definitely not casting a 7-mana spell.
Whatever. Yeah.
Game five, I don't think it would have done much there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Rock Dash that was doing stuff, but like double Niv kind of already handled that. Round 6 would have been kind of funny. Again, it just kind of keeps hosing like the same deck, Rogthras, over and over again. I just would have kept hosing them, but they all.
Well, I feel like it hoses Rogthras, it hoses Tymna Plans, it hoses other TNTs, it hoses Sisay, it hoses Magda, it hoses Kinnan.
I just didn't see a lot of. Like I didn't. Yeah, my games
I guess
were
if you're just against blue farm mirrors all day, it really isn't as relevant. Like it shuts out Tymna, which is great, but if they're on, especially because there were a bunch of turbo blue farms, it's not going to do shit there.
The weird thing was, even in the games where, because I did not actually get a double blue farm pod until the top 16. So the only game, and even then,
that's shocking,
right? But even then, my games just played weird. Like I'll explain it. As we get down, I'm not going to go round by round, but we'll kind of talk about it. But my games were really, really weird. A lot of them just developed into these strange board states of where it was like, you can almost tell immediately whether you were going to be able to push through and win, or it was just going to draw like very, very quickly.
Yeah. So I just want to give people the heads up. We're not going through 17 rounds of Magic today. If you were hoping that's what we were going to do, it's not happening. And, I don't care.
Well, but leave a message in the comments if you actually want to try it.
If you actually wanted us to break down 17 rounds of Magic, please let us know, I guess. I'm down to bring back the tournament things. I do really enjoy the round by round tournament breakdowns. They're just really long, and we found that sometimes they're a little too long for people, but I love doing them. I do really enjoy them, but we're not doing that right now.
I feel like I black out after a tournament, so it's hard for me to recall the details sometimes. It's like as soon as the round's over, it's just like, whoop, out of the mind. Unless I really screw up. Then it sticks in me forever.
Oh, is there a screw up you made in this tournament that's going to stick with you forever?
Oh my god!
Is there a mistake you made in one of your games that's gonna haunt you for the rest of your life?
You know what's sad?
Might it have been your top 16 game?
You know what's sad? Every night I've gone to bed this week so far, I've thought about it.
Yeah. Oh, it's
just like could I have done that instead? Yeah. I was like, could I have done that instead?
You're gonna be mad at yourself for a long time on this one.
Every decision I made in that game, I have agonized over. Every single one. From the very first, from like even keeping the hand with the One Ring to.
That was correct. Fuck you. It's a turn 1 Ring was it on the play?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Turn 1 Ring on the play. You're gonna don't act like that's incorrect. All right.
I just wonder if like I should have just sandbagged and just tried to like fight for the draw.
No.
Because I win if it draws.
No. Oh, I hate that. I would never play that way.
I know. And I saw this hand. I said, fuck it. We are either losing or winning. There is going to be no in between.
100%.
There's none of this draw 100%. Into the top 4 shit.
I think if you go into genuinely, I believe this is going to be a little harsh. If you are in a top 16 game at a major tournament that for some reason has a time restriction and you are the person who would be winning that game if that game went to a draw, if you are playing that game with the mindset of I'm going to try and draw this game, don't play CDH. I don't want you to play this format. That's not the point of this. I would like there to be a winner of that game. I will forever fucking hate my Crombat top 16. I hate that top 4. Like that whole tournament, the way that finished, because I don't feel like I earned it. And could I have ended up winning that game? Absolutely. That game is so different if we didn't have the time clock on us because everything about that game is different, which that one was really short. We had 100 minutes to play that game. So it was not like a normal 3-hour top 16 pot. It was a short one. And I won that from the draw. And it forever still bothers me because I did not earn that win. And fuck that shit. So please, if you're ever in that type of situation, don't ever play for the draw. I understand it if you're in a position that like there's 10 minutes left on the clock and you can't win and you want to stop someone from winning, sure, that's valid. That's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're starting the game with the mindset of, I'm going to try and draw this, fuck you.
Yeah. And that's the sad thing, right? Like, not sad thing. I never even had that mentality. Like, I heard him say it and I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I want to win.
Yeah.
I'm here to win. And like, even playing for the draw, it just never, it like literally never even crossed my mind as like an option I was going to take. It was literally like, I'm just going to play and whatever happens, happens. I see the Wondering on turn 1 on the play. I'm like, that's hot. That's a hot hand. And it would have gotten me there.
That hand. I wish you'd had that hand against Andy specifically, because I've haunted that man. Because like 2 of our last 3 games against each other, I've had the Wondering on the play, turn 1.
That's funny. That's super funny.
I keep having it against Andy.
That was the sad part. That was probably my best hand all day too. Like by far, like easily. Dude,
I stay keeping mid-ass hands and seeing what happens.
Actually, I don't know. My turn 1 hand was really disgusting too.
Your round 1?
Round 1, yeah. Sorry, not turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, so we kind of talked before this video that we're not going to do the round by round breakdown, as we already said, and we just want to talk about some key moments, or maybe like one specific game that really stuck out to us, or some decisions we had to make, and discuss those. What moments were you hoping to talk about from the Invitational?
So round 1 really sticks out just because I got to do the Oculus. And that was super awesome because getting to flip a Seedborn up was hilarious. And that game just was, I got off to such a hot start from seat 2 that I think they all had to just play from behind that game, but no one was catching up to me. And that's actually the first time I've gotten to play Kellen in a long time too, which was cool. And yeah, I had everything. I had Ristic Study, Gaia's Cradle, Oculus, like we had the nuts, Seedborn, we had everything. It was gross. It was like that game was over very, very quickly. We were like one of the first tables done. And Tree Farm, and not even because like I hit, Thoracle Consult and we just dropped it turn 3. Like we played to turn 5, but that's how overwhelming the game was. Just everything. And then dropping the Brewmaster Devoted Druid combo and just cleaning that game up pretty nicely. Game 2 was cool just because it was on stream, but it was also kind of sucks because it was exactly like what you'd expect, where everyone had everything, no one wanted to push, and we all just sat there. But I did have 7 pieces of interaction, which was hilarious. That was all my hand was. I literally had everything, bro. I had like this town, the Interrupter, which was I gotta talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Aven Interrupter, yeah, dude.
I know. I love that card. I
fucking love Aven Interrupter.
I had Besage You. I had like 3 counter spells. I had Mind Break Trap. Like it was disgusting. Like I literally just sat on a Biomancers and Thracios, never turn went. Yeah, I'll activate Thracios twice. And everyone's like, yeah. And I was like, cool. Interaction, pass.
Hang out.
That's all I did for like 3 turns. And I was like, at some point, someone's going to push and do something interesting. Everyone was terrified, though. So, yeah, that game ended in a weird way just because no one wanted to do anything. And then eventually I was like, all right, guys, look, if no one's going to do anything, I'm going to show 7 pieces of interaction. Can we just draw? We good? I really want to eat before this next round. And if y'all aren't going to push, because by the time the system player was like even thinking about pushing, there was no world in which that stack was resolving before we were already done. Like we had like 15 minutes left in the round. We were not resolving a stack in 35 minutes. It was not happening. Not that stack.
It was not happening.
I was like, can we just be done with this? Because I have at least 7 pieces of interaction to make sure the stack goes 35 minutes if it comes to it. Round 3 was actually hilarious because Sterling and I before the top 16 actually played each other in round 3, and I was on the play. Sterling was in seat 2, and there's a Yoshi Thras in seat 3, and then Spooky in seat 4 on 10th Thras. And Spooky kept a bad hand. We went low, and the Yoshi Thras player kept a low hand as well. I don't remember what Sterling kept, but either way, Sterling aggressively, basically he played like a turn 2 Ristic Study and then aggressively defended his Ristic Study because I decided to fierce it just because the other 2 players were so out and my hand was really strong enough to where I was like, if I fierce this, I don't think anyone catches up to me the way this game is going. And I think Sterling saw the same writing on the wall, so decided to defend his fierce with a Demonic Consultation for Force of Will.
Ooh.
And Force of Will was third from the bottom.
Hell yeah,
So then
brother.
he literally was like, well, I have this. I think he had a silence. So he had an orange chant and a something else, like a pyroblast, or maybe it wasn't a pyroblast. I don't remember. He had something else. I think he only had black mana up, which is why he had to use the Demcon. But he, I don't remember. But either way, I think he orange chanced me on like the next go around. But then I had so much overwhelming value that he dies naturally to just drawing cards, and then I literally throw down the Aboro line and just close it up. And that was, I think, literally windmill slam Grand Abolisher on my turn, and then I'm like, oh, Aboro. No one's
Did
got
you
anything?
actually
Cool.
slam it down?
Yeah, windmill slam. Bacha!
Fucking,
No.
I feel like I would love to like windmill slam a Grand Abolisher and just be like, all right, can you beat it?
Like legit for real, like somehow, like whoop.
I do love.
Like,
A lot of times I'll cast. I have to put down my mic. I'll cast Seaborn Muse and I'll go like this. Be like, okay. Like,
we good? Yeah,
we good? Is it okay?
Bro, my heart jumps. My heart always jumps into my throat a little bit when I'm like, pass.
Yeah,
Sick. I get an untap.
Untap.
Just that little moment of like adrenaline where you're like, all right, who's got the chain of vapor? Nope. All right, we're good. We're good.
We're good. I'm gonna untap with you. That sounds wonderful. No, it's so nice.
Yeah, so that one was good. And then from there, the rest of my games were just draws. So I don't want to like dive too deep into them. I think it was just like the tournament was weird. And this is where I was saying it was a lot of my games. It got to like these weird points in the game where just no one could do anything. I think, and you've seen some criticism of this online, so I'm going to touch on it here, but like it wasn't players necessarily playing for draws. Like I don't think in any of my games I was necessarily playing for a draw. Like I always was still trying to push my foot forward. I'd say that round 4 might have been the only one where it was just I was a little bit more cautious of like I don't really need to take a big risk here. Like I want to get 12 points coming out of today, and then I want to see where 6 and 7 take me.
Sure.
Or sorry, round 5. Round 4 I got cooked on the play. Andy won on turn 2, or he won turn 2 on the play. So I was in seat 4, and I never saw a turn 2. That was nuts. Andy's great though. Andy's like one of the best players I've ever played with, for real, every time. But round 5, sorry, it was not round 4. Round 5 was the round where it was like maybe I can push a draw here. Like I don't need to play aggressively. I'm in seat 1 again. I was in seat 1 a lot this tournament. Actually, it was like 4 rounds I was in seat 1, which is nuts.
Good seating.
The funny thing is, none of them really mattered because after round 4, I was in seat 1, I think the rest of the time, 5, 6, and 7. And all those, crazy. And not a single one of those games I was in a position to even really win except 6. Like,
what did you ended up with 2 wins, 4 draws?
2 wins, 4 draws, and a loss. Yeah. But it was weird because I was kind of locked. Like the way the points broke down, I was locked after round 3. Like if I do not win another round, the rest of the tournament, I lock for top 16.
You still would have made it just because you went 2-1, yeah, or 2-0-1 in the first 3.
2-0-1, yeah. And I was sitting in the top pods the rest of the time too. And even my breakers were great because Andy had 1, and then Dio and Zach, who I played in round 3, were both ended up with 18. So I had played most of the best players by that point in terms of points and ranking and everything. So my opponent win percentage was crazy high, regardless.
So you're fine. You're absolutely set.
Yeah. So that's why it was like, it was weird because those games just didn't matter. Like I wish I could have taken more advantage of being in seat 1 so many times, but those games would have drawn regardless of what seat I was in because of the way they played out so weirdly. Like I don't think my seating.
I mean, I think it's a reasonable criticism for the event that the draw rate was so high. Like I think that is a negative from an outsider perspective. I wouldn't like to see it that high. I don't think that that's a good representation of the game. But I think something people have to give credit for is when you're talking about the best players, one of the things the best players are really good at is not losing. Every single one of us who is a top tier player is really good at not losing the game and like essentially getting games to draws that would either be losses or, just understanding where everyone's at to the point that we understand it's not the time to push. And we all have guns fired at each other, and we understand that the first person who pushes doesn't win. So it kind of puts us all in this game of chicken. And it sounds like a lot of Envy games were that way, where no one felt comfortable pushing, no one felt they ever had it, and so they were just locked in this stupid draw scenario of games naturally going to time, not from like shitty forced draw situations, but just from no one can win the game because everyone here understands how to play this game really responsibly and really safely.
Yeah, and I think when you play like in a regular tournament, there's always those handful of players, maybe like in a 60-person tournament, you got like 10 players that are kind of in those like fuck it mode. Like, I'm just going to send it and see what happens. And they cannot be convinced, no matter what you say or do, that sending it is the wrong play. So a player like myself who plays a little bit more cautiously, a little bit more, I'm a very patient player, generally. Not in the top 16, which we'll talk about. But generally, I'm very cautious, very patient in where I pick my windows and how I go for wins. And
sometimes you just fucking send it, brother. I don't know what you're talking
about. When do I just send it? What are you talking about?
Sometimes you play greedy TNT. When you play greedy TNT, you're just like, my job is to win the game.
So my deck is built to be greedy, and my game plan is greed. But I think that manifests itself differently in terms of like, I'm just not going to send it because I have it. Right, where you have certain players that if they have
you're still opportunistic. Right. Yeah.
Right, like I know my windows, and I know what I'm looking for when my windows present themselves. You have certain players who will see the window as slammed shut on them, and someone fucking nailed that shit and put boards over it, and they're like, I'm going to crash into it anyway and see if I break through. And they're like, I probably won't, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah, I might as well.
And if they throws the game, like if it throws the game into a chaotic state, they don't care. And you probably have 10 players like that at like every 60-person event you go to who are like that. And those are the players that are kind of your wild cards and how some of those games are going to go. But the Envy, there's nobody like that. Nobody, I'd say generally. I mean, I guess maybe there's one or two that'll still do it, but not from what I saw. No, even he was playing cautiously in one of our games where it was like, oh yeah, I'll actually talk about that one here in a sec. But like, no one is just sending to send. No one's like, I'm just going to keep slamming shit into a heuristic study and hope I get there. That's not what happens. Envy players are too good, I think, and I think that's the other thing. Nobody wants to scrub out. Nobody wants to be the person coming in last in the invitational. So everyone is playing even more cautiously than I think they would even normally. Someone said it best on Twitter, I saw, where every game is a top 16, and that is truly how it's even played. And if you've been in a top 16 game, you know how long those can go and how careful people are and how patient generally people are. Yes, every once in a while, you'll have the dude who just slams it if he's got it on turn 2. But generally, people keep more cautious hands because they're terrified of losing because everyone wants to try and win the tournament. And when you're in the top 16, you're like, okay, this is it. I don't want to screw up from here. And every game in the Invitational is exactly that because every win is so important that every player is playing almost not to lose right away. But that also creates arms races that are really tough to break through in 80 minutes. I'd say almost impossible, actually. It's not going to happen. Right? There's not enough time on the clock to do so. So either you have to create overwhelming advantage early and overwhelm your opponents like I did in rounds 1 and 3, or you have to find your wiggle room somewhere in there by taking advantage with weird cards things. And that's kind of why I'm like a big fan of Oculus, because I can flip into a Grand Abolisher and I don't have to fight over anything. Like, it's just there. And we talked a lot about like uncounterable spells were probably going to be huge in this event because that's the only way you're going to get stuff through these kind of weird board states. But even that didn't really happen because
Pigeon was on savage summoning.
Yeah. But like even that didn't happen, right? Because when you try to send it, other people would start going on top of you, and Sisei would start activating, and Magda would start activating, and there was Borns flying left and right, and then Mindbreak traps would come out. Like it didn't fucking matter, right? It was just nightmare scenarios across both for a lot of people.
I'm not speaking to everyone here, but the average player in the Invitational, I would feel confident saying, yaps a bit more than the average player in the Open.
Probably. I did not see it actually all that much. Personally. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Like, I think Zach talked a little bit in our round 3, but not like to the point, certainly not like he was doing in the top 4. And trying to think of anyone else. There was some minor politicking here and there, but honestly, I think games just got to a point where it was like, it was over so quickly in terms of either Someone overwhelmed the board, and there wasn't anything to like. There was nothing to politic in my rounds 1, 3, and 4. Someone just won very quickly. Sure. Round 2, there was everyone had guns pointed at each other. So there, what's there to politic over at that point? And like even most of my politicking was joking. I was like, "Good guys, I want Jimmy John's. We good? We good to go get Jimmy John's? No, all right. We'll just keep sitting here." And then even rounds 5, 6, and 7 were the politicking was honestly over the draws more than it was like any game actions being taken. It was literally like, I'll do this to get the draw, or I'll do this and like, are we good to draw? Or like, hey, I'm gonna push one more time, and then do you want to draw? And it's like, I mean, if you're just gonna push, why would I accept a draw, right? Like, these are the discussions that are happening at that point, and I felt like there wasn't really. Like I heard Waffle at one point was like actually politicking, and I was like, huh, that's weird. I have not heard any of that at all this weekend. And like even in the most politicking was happening in the top 16 game, and we weren't even really politicking each other. It was literally more of a how the hell do we survive Sterling's had us here than it was like trying to convince each other to take game actions that were to our own detriment.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's valid.
But you're probably right. Like in a vacuum, I'd say. Probably. But also I realized like a lot of people are trying like different politicking tricks that probably work in their locals. And then you play with players at this caliber and it doesn't work like at all. Like at one point, Zach was literally like looking at me like, hey, you going to crack your treasures to do anything? I was like, brother, there's no world in which I'm cracking my treasures before you. Like it is, you are first in priority. You crack them and you go have your fun with your man devil, but I'm not helping. I'll help when you are exhausted. And not Zach, a moment sooner.
My games with Zach, I haven't had too many, but I've had some, and yeah, he's very much like, it's almost like Kevin Simmons politics, where like he'll say shit just to say shit, just to like, he's like, it's free value to ask, like it's completely free value to ask. Like Kevin loves throwing out just like almost joking level weird shitty deals just to see if people take them. Like, and Zach's like the same way. Like he's just tutoring. He's like, hey, you gonna counter a smothering dive? Like he'll just ask, right? Which is totally fine to do. There's nothing wrong with it. But when I'm in a game with him, I'm like, I guess you'll find out, right? And he's like, all right, gotta ask.
Well, it's just funny, right? Because in our game, he was like, all right, he's like, go ahead and start cracking your treasures so I can kill stuff on Sicily board. And I'm looking at his 15 treasures like, no. You crack yours. And he's like, all right. I was like, okay. I guess, yeah, why not ask, right?
So I did hear that Zach and Alex Stockwell, Zach Adler and Alex Stockwell, they were on, I think, the identical list, and someone told me that they added Mayhem Devil like right before the event, and I played with them the week before the event, and I just kind of like smoked them on Roggrass in a quick game, and I'm actually curious if I had some part of them deciding to toss in Mayhem Devil. I have to ask them.
I don't know. It was good though. It really locked down Sisse in round 3, because without that, I'm pretty sure they get. I don't know if we get cooked necessarily, because I had so much interaction. It really didn't matter what Sisse put on the board. I had bounce spells and removal for days. And the Kitten player also had interaction for days, I'm pretty sure. I don't really know what Zach was rocking, but because Zach wouldn't show me. But
it's fair. Dude, what a sweet oh my God.
Well, no one knew what I had either, right? Like I literally wasn't willing to show anything either. I was like, I'll play a Smothering Tithe to help the Mayhem Devil, and everyone's like, I don't know about that one. And I was like,
I will say though, we do have to throw in like genuine congratulations for Zach for taking down the individual. Yeah. Zach is someone who I think I might have met a while ago, but not sure if I fully remembered it. But I've gotten to know him a lot better over these last few months, and like what a guy. Like super, super friendly, super good dude, really wonderful to play with, really wonderful to be around, like genuine big Zachary Adler fan. He's an awesome dude and I'm super proud of him. I wish it was you, but like I'm happy that it was Zach too.
Yeah, couldn't say enough nice things. Our game was really awesome and he was super nice in it, and yeah, huge congratulations. Like such a huge achievement, right? We all worked all season. We all hope to be the person holding that trophy, so I mean, you can't really say enough nice things about it and how well he played all weekend long. I mean, he was number 1 seed going into it and won the whole thing. So, I mean, you really can't get much better than that from his position.
Absolutely. Now, Jordan, why weren't you in top 4?
Why
did you not make it in a game that you were absolutely dominating beyond belief? in a
I
game that you
missed.
had locked up better than
So
anyone could ever ask for.
I actually had to go back and watch it to make sure that I didn't, because in my mind there was a lot of decision making that I used in that at that moment, and I was like, did I just completely misassess everything that I was doing? Like, how hard of a punt was it? And looking back, I actually don't think
It's
it
not
was
that bad.
as bad as I walked away from that table in near tears. Especially because I had to know. I looked at the next 6 cards that I would have drawn off the One Ring, because my One Ring was on 5. No, sorry, it was on 4. It was on 3. Yeah, on 4. I would have drawn 5 and then 1 for turn, so 6 total. And it was everything I needed. It was a counter spell and a Boro and Crop Rot for the Talon Gates. And I had like 5 1-drop dorks in hand. I was like, this is brutal to see this 6. Like, it was so locked up. Uh, I don't even think it would have mattered if Jeremy played down his
Are
his
you Ashiok?
Ashiok.
Are
Yeah.
you saying the age old CDH thing of if it got back to my next turn, I would have won the game?
I had to know, like, would it have mattered, right? Like, would I
Yeah.
have fed 9 treasures to Steven and to Sterling just to lose anyway? So I had to know, like, were those 6 cards actually going to be relevant? And the fact that it was a clean win line was very frustrating, very saddening.
So let's talk about the decision that you made that you're viewing as a bit of a punt, which I do agree from the context that I've been given. I haven't gone back and watched the stream, but you've told me the scenario in pretty good detail. I do agree that it was an incorrect decision.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was
Clearly.
it was the right. No. But I'm not talking about the result, right? Like, I've made decisions that were correct with the context that was given to me in that moment that were incorrect if I could see the future. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've made decisions that were wrong in the moment when you're given the full context that turned out to be correct if I could have seen the future and how it worked out, right? Like, your decision in that moment had logic to it. It wasn't that it was a completely terrible decision that makes no sense at all. There's absolutely logic with the choice, but it is a decision that when you're looking at the full context of the game and everything you had available to you and the position that you were in relative to the table was incorrect. And I think you're willing to admit that.
Yeah. So for some context, I'll kind of set the stage here for this decision. So in the top 16, I got off, like we said earlier in the show, I got off to a very fast start by playing down the One Ring. And that let me just kind of explode out value ahead of my opponents. But both Blue Farm players that I was playing against, the Blue Farm in seat 2 and in seat 3, both played out Smothering Tithes. So on my turn, I decided not to tap the One Ring because I did not want to feed treasure. So I left my One Ring on 3. And I played out Snap and tapped. Interesting. I tapped. My mana was kind of awkward because I had Deserted Temple, Ancient Tomb, Blue White Land, Tundra, and I think it was a Bayou. I'm not 100% sure what the fourth land was, but I think it was a Bayou. So I basically did a bunch of weird stuff where I think I like snapped the Fabro Elder on Jeremy's board so that I could untap my lands in a specific way so that I could both play Biomancers and play Growing Rights. And that would give me exactly 4 creatures and a flip. And the idea was then I'd have 2 Thrasios activations. At this point, Sterling deploys a red, I think it was a red Elemental Blast on my, it was either that or Pyroblast, one of the two. I don't remember which one. On my Biomancer's Familiar. Well, after a brief discussion, because he thought initially about hitting Thrasios, instead put on Biomancers. And I thought, I'm sitting on a Force of Will. This is my only piece of interaction. I will tap out. I'm tapped out, especially if this Growing Rights does not flip, which it will not if Biomancer's gone. I'm looking at the table. Sterling at this point in seat 3, the player who actually won this game, was only on 2 cards. And he had a Wish Claw on his board with 1 Wish Claw activation up, but he had made a deal with Jeremy that he would not activate it if Jeremy gave it back to him because he just didn't want someone else to use it. And so he was sitting on that. And then Steven to my left, I want to say was only on like 1 or 2 cards, like did not have a lot of cards in hand. And so I'm pretty sure it was just one, to be honest, one or two. Yeah, because he was sitting on a Fierce, I think, as well. I think his 3 cards in hand, because he showed me, I think one was Toxic Deluge, Fierce, and then the swords that he ends up using. So he did not have many cards. And honestly, I think he might only had 2 at this point. So 2 and 2. Jeremy has said all game he is down and out, like bad. And he ends up revealing that he got Deadpool at some point in the next turn. But I initially thought he was going to grab a Smothering Tithe as well, and he did not. And when he did not play the Smothering Tithe, I realized, and he seemed frustrated, it seemed like he'd made an error on whatever he grabbed. And I was like, maybe it was the Fabro, but I don't think so, because the Fabro Elder seemed like that was going to be his main game plan anyway, based on the mana he deployed. So I'm sitting there like, okay, I think Jeremy's screwed up, plus he just lost his Fabro, so he literally has to say nothing. And he's missing land drops. And the other 2 are down to 2 cards. So I think to myself, if I can defend my Biomancers here, I will probably handedly win this game going into my turn. And I do not see a world right where I'm looking at where either of these players are going to untap and win. Any 3 of them. I just don't see it. So I decided to be greedy and probably make one of the greediest plays of my entire career and deploy the Force of Will to save my Biomancers. And in response, Steven to my left, the blue farm player in seat 2, throws his Swords of Plowshares out and exiles my Biomancers. So either way, I still lost Biomancers, but I'm thinking to myself, this isn't the worst situation because now I just got 2 pieces of interaction out, including a removal, which can really screw my plans up going to my turn. I'm still going to draw 4 cards during this cycle, plus 5 more into my turn with Wondering, plus my draw for turn. So I'm going to see 10 cards going into my next turn. I feel still pretty confident about where that's going to go. There was also a discussion because Steven had asked before he deployed the swords what Sterling was going to do. And Sterling said, at this moment, I'm going to play my commanders. And so I should have, hindsight being 2020, and what I know about my politicking style, whenever I hear someone squirrel or use words that leave them an out, I always get a little suspicious of what they could be doing. And when he said at this moment, I should have said, hey, before you swords my Biomancer, let's have a discussion. Because he's saying at this moment. So I think you need to get a solid commitment he's not going to untap and win before you just nuke me, because then you're on your own. Because I don't think Jeremy's got anything. And it should have been a red flag. But it didn't at the time. Either I was too tired or I was too distracted or whatever, right? It doesn't really matter.
But genuinely there, like non-jokingly, Sterling's hand at that moment was a Dark Ritual and a Swan Song. That is all he had in hand. He can easily say, here's my hand, brother.
Yeah.
If I draw the right card, I'm going to draw the right card, and you can do what you want. If you want to not swords it in case I draw the right card, that's your call. Right? Like, if I'm in Sterling's position, that's what I say. Like, there's nothing wrong with him saying at this moment, because at that moment, he really didn't have shit. He had a good top deck.
Yeah. And he also, it is what it is, right? Like, that's, I think I assessed correctly that no one was really holding anything. And yeah, so Steven on his turn, played out I think he tapped out for Crom. Like, that's all he had the mana to do. I want to say that's correct. And then Sterling went to his turn and drew the Chain of Vapor. And Chain of Vapored his Wish Claw back. And mad respect for Sterling, because he didn't have to do this, right? He could have just broken the deal, but instead changed his Wish Claw back and replayed his Wish Claw, thus making a new Wish Claw, not breaking the deal anymore, because it is a new Wish Claw, which we all agreed at the table. We all agreed at the table, because for a second when he replayed it down, I don't remember who, but someone made a comment and he hesitated for a second because he's like, well, is this still cool? Because he didn't want to be a deal breaker on camera. And so mad respect to Sterling for that. Like, literally wasted a spell he didn't have to uphold the deal. So I'll give Sterling like mad respect for that. But at this point, he literally looks at Steven and says, show me 2 pieces or I'm pushing win right here. And I see Steven's face. He goes, what the fuck is happening? What? And Steven had the Fierce, and then Jeremy shows me a card and says, "This is all I can do," and it's the Ashiok, and I'm like, brother, that's shit. But I'm stone faced on it. I'm like, cool, right. And so Sterling is funny because he ends up playing through that mad line in his last turn that he did not have to do, which is super funny because he thought Jeremy might have something to screw him at the end. But Sterling ends up wish clawing for Adnaz. Of course, he had the dark writ. And of course, that's all she wrote. His Adnaz almost whiffed. It was very close.
One curiosity: if he had not red blasted your Biomancers, assuming that your 2 cards you got on Biomancers didn't matter, because he then would have had the red blast to go with the Swan Song to go with your Force and the Fierce, would it have still worked, or would he have been choked on mana?
He would have been tapped out, but it wouldn't have mattered because he didn't play a land for turn. And once he could have played a land for turn, I think he still had enough rocks to get there. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. Because that's almost a saving grace of if he could have got there anyway, then it doesn't matter.
Well, so the window is, and this is where it sucks. The window is he still has to red blast my Biomancer, but then I do not Fierce. Therefore,
if he red blasts and you don't Force, and then you have the Force with an Oz, and that's it. Got it.
Yep. I actually probably don't even bother letting it go past Wish Claw. Like, I legitimately just force the Wish Claw if I'm back in that position.
That's fair.
Instead of letting him go all the way. Yeah, because I don't want Jeremy to have another Black Tutor again. Because at that point, 100%. He will grab Smothering Tithe.
Yeah, or a piece of interaction or something.
I would be hard pressed to believe he wouldn't grab Smothering Tithe right there. Because Sisei with Smothering Tithe into the one.
But yes, it's better to stop 3 tutors at the table to potentially stop you. 100%. I think that is the correct choice.
So I would have had to deploy the Force there. And that was the misplay, right? I should not have used the Force to defend my Biomancer because it was not relevant in the grand scheme of the game. But yeah, because I was thinking about this too, like, because Steven said he would not have worried about, like, no one would have cared about my Biomancers if I hadn't deployed the Growing Rights. But if I hadn't deployed the Growing Rights, then the Red Blast would have been available to use as counter magic. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, you know?
It's a bit weird. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with you deploying the Growing Rights. I think people saying, oh, that's greedy or whatever, because I've heard some people say they thought that was greedy. I think that's completely fine. I think you should have held your Force of Will. And the reason that I would have held the Force of Will there, and it might just be the control player in me, but I'm usually coming from the perspective of, if I am passing the turn, my thought process is, what do I use to? What do I lose to? What is the thing that will prevent me from getting another turn? That's normally where my head is at. And when I am in a dominant position, about to draw 10 cards off the One Rings, while my opponents have basically no cards in hand at all, and I withheld drawing on that turn to limit their treasures, limiting what they'd even be able to do that turn. In my brain, it's just saying, okay, I'm going to be responsible for the cycle. If they kill my Biomancers, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to see what I can do with 10 cards on my next turn. That's where I'm at. And I think that would have been the correct play, but it's not like your play was without logic. Your opponents didn't seem like they were doing much. They didn't have that much going on. Unfortunately, it's like you also didn't hear the conversation regarding the Swords to Plowshares until after the Force of Will was cast. It almost would have been like worthwhile to have some kind of realistic conversation before that. Like, genuinely, I would have maybe looked at Steven, the next opponent, and been like, hey, I want to protect this, but I also don't want to just lose to one of you guys. Like, I don't think you have anything going on. Are you worried about Steven at all? There's like ways you can start conversations there.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that you can run it back in your brain a billion different ways. I think the real baseline foundation is you made a choice. You decided to focus on your development. You didn't think your opponents were going to get there. And Sterling had a really good top deck. And if Sterling doesn't have that top deck that lets him tutor or get a Wish Claw or anything of that resort, like if he just draws a land or if he draws another counter spell or anything else like that, you know, Mana Rock, whatever, you're in the same situation you were in. So it's not like your choice was abysmal, right? It's not like, oh, this was the worst punt of my life. It's, I made a decision based on the information I had and it didn't work out. But I agree that it was probably not the overarchingly optimal choice.
Yeah. Just unfortunate. It was unfortunate. It's not a play I even thought about it. It's not a play I'd even historically have made in my career. I felt like I was pressured. My life total had been pressured so hard that I felt I needed to push like aggressively there to push something through and defend my board because it needed to be up for me to get to my turn. Yeah, I don't know. I think I probably just put too much pressure on myself in that game from like a damage perspective to where it was like my life total was hurting pretty bad there. Like even when Steven went to swing Crom, I was already like, because Steven had said before game he was probably just going to hit me with Crom to get me out of the game. So if it drawn, he wins. And like as soon as he was like, I'm going to go to combat, I immediately took my 4, and he's like, oh, we could have a discussion about it. I was like, oh, well, shoot, I'll take it back. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, okay. Like even that was like I jumped the gun there because I should have had a discussion of like, hey, I understand you want to kill me, and I understand why, but
there's a Nas player.
Even right, and 4 more. I don't know that 4 more life really makes that big of a difference because then he just doesn't go the line he used. He just probably goes the less safe one and still wins anyway. But
yeah,
even just 4 extra life can be the difference between a good Nas and a bad Nas sometimes. And his Nas almost whiffed. I mean, he literally found that Final Fortune was the last card I think he grabbed.
But that's what I mean. That 4 life would have made a difference.
No, because he was at 8 when he stopped, I think.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it was like 8.
Who the fuck stops at 8? I guess if you have Forcible in your deck or something, like whatever.
Well, he had everything he already needed. So
okay, sure. That's
plus he found interaction. He found all the cards. I mean, at that point, what are you
worried about?
What are you looking for still? You know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, overarchingly, congratulations on top 16 in the Top Deck Invitational. It is still something you should be incredibly proud of. You played phenomenally well all weekend, and I am like genuinely super, super proud of you.
I appreciate it. It was just kind of a bitter note, and I wanted to like legitimately cry about it a little bit, but the tears did not come.
I'm happy that I gave you a hunger to keep grinding.
It like did. So for those who don't know, if you didn't see my tweet, I've not had fun with Magic for a minute now. I honestly, there's a lot of reasons why. Some of it's because the real life stuff. Some of it's just because haven't had fun with it. I really can't explain like when I sit down at a game and I'm playing why it's not fun. But when a hobby is supposed to be fun for you and it's not, it's very frustrating. And Magic was like my escape from real life. And so when real life is stressful and then you're jumping into your hobby and that's not it's not enjoyable anymore, you start to question why you're doing it and if you need to find a different hobby or something else that actually brings you fun and enjoyment. And so I contemplated retiring from CEDH altogether and not doing this anymore, just stepping away from Magic for a while. And losing the way I did reignited the beast. Plus, I had a great time. Like, I legitimately, for the first time in so long, and I know everyone's criticizing the draw meta, whatever, I don't care. I actually had fun playing Magic. Every game was fun. Even the draw games were fun. Even my weird, like even my round 7 game with Logan was super weird and scuffed and one of the weirdest games of all time. And I still had a blast playing it. And I finally walked away enjoying Magic. I also got to draft, and I love draft. It's my favorite format. And I 3-0'd the draft I played in. So like even that was super cool. And I finally walked away from a weekend where it wasn't just like, great, I'm glad that's over. Because legitimately, a lot of my Magic weekends, I've walked away from it like, thank God, I'm glad that I don't have to play Magic again for a bit. And that's kind of a shitty feeling. But as soon as I got back on Monday, I'm already like thinking of new decks I want to brew. And like I have a chance to take a break from TNT for a bit and actually do some crazy stuff and
play rock.
Get to rock some rock some decks that I've been wanting to play and then lost the desire to play. And now the kind of like now I've got the time to do so and goof off a little bit before the next season starts and tank my Elos a little bit before we start.
now that you're back in the top 25.
Whatever. I lose one game, I'll be in the 50. I'll be in 50 again, so I don't care.
Bro, same. I won way more games than I lost this weekend. My elo went down. It's just this is what it is.
Yeah. That's what happens when you lose to Lotho.
Thanks.
So on that note, let's go to the Open. Let's talk about your day.
Yeah, after Jordan's spiel of the utmost positivity there related to Magic the Gathering,
Hey, it turned positive. It's positive now.
It did turn positive. So I played in the Open, which was the largest CEDH tournament of all time. Ended up with like the pre-player meeting count was 514. I believe the post-player meeting count was actually 504. So right over 500 players. Over, I think it was literally exactly 126 pods. This thing was massive, and what has been part of the discussion was this event was cut to top 16 out of 504 players, which is a pretty cutthroat number to go for there. I am a fan of the potential of a top 40. For anyone who doesn't know, a top 40 is the top 8 essentially get a bye, and the numbers 9 through 40, the remaining 32 players, is 8 pods of 4 that fight for the next 8 spots to make a top 16. I love that idea because it rewards winning and making the top 8, and it also lets more people be involved. I think that is a phenomenal way to push the format forward when we have events of this size because, yeah, cutting to 16 was very, very strenuous. It was 8 rounds of Swiss, which is the most there have ever been. I'm not going to talk too much about this tournament. I was able to get off to a really hard start. I was actually against a B for the first time.
Before you get into it, I kind of want to talk about the cut to top 40 because Baldy actually commented on it somewhere, and I saw it, and I just kind of want to touch on it because they did do a cut to day 2, right? So if you did not reach a certain threshold, you were cut going into day 2, which I thought was interesting because that's very much
it's fine.
Well, I think that's cool though because that does give you your cut, right? Like they say it was a cut to top 16, but in reality, you cut a huge chunk of the player base before day 2 because that's also how most other Magic events run.
But it's also weird to look at now that we've actually seen the final numbers. The bubble number was 20. All 20-pointers made it except for one. Sorry, Ian Flannery. He was the one 20-pointer that didn't make it. I mean, he did his normal comeback kid thing where he started off losing every game, and so then he like won his last 4 games straight. And so his breakers were atrocious, which like congratulations again to 20. Ian played awesome. He has a ton to be proud of, and he was so fucking close and right there. But when you do the comeback kid thing, your breakers are terrible, and that's just reality. But so the weird thing about that is the cut for day 2 was 7 points. But if the cut is 20 and we only have 2 rounds in the second day, it's false hope for all those people. No one under 10 points had any chance.
I agree. And I think one thing that I want to pitch, Baldy, if you're listening, or anyone from Excalibur, I wonder if you do 5 rounds and then do your day 2 cut. Like if you're going to do 8 rounds for these monster events moving forward, you're basically playing like a normal 5-round tournament, which I think is generally what like the vast majority of players play, right? That's like your normal 60-day or 60-person event. And play your 5 rounds and then do your cut from there, knowing in the future it's probably going to be around 20 points. Then you can do, you've had to win 10, you had to have gotten to 10 by the end of,
not if it's 8 rounds.
No, it'd be 8.
Not if it's 8 rounds. Yeah, not if it's 8 rounds. So you would, if it's 20, they would need to have at least 1 win. They would need to be at 5 points through 5 rounds, and they have to 3-0 the remaining games. If you did only 5 games day 1.
No, but I think the point is to cut. You're trying to cut down, right, on the amount of players
right.
that make it to day 2.
So my point is, then you would have had to cut everyone who's under.
Yeah.
You would have had to cut everyone under 10 points.
Well, you do 7, right? You do 7 then. Like you have to still hit 7.
No, because 7 doesn't matter. If you made 7 points through 6 rounds, and there's 2 rounds the following day, your maximum points is 17. If you were at 9 points through 6 rounds, and you made it to day 2, you literally have a 0% chance of making it if the cut is 20. Which we don't know how it's going to work out in the future. Mm-hmm. I understand. I like the idea of cutting it for day 2. I think that's totally fine, taking out players who have no chance. My point is, it was like kind of weird to cut to 7, and there were so many 7s and 8s and 9s and all these things, and none of them actually had any chance, which I think is weird.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think you bring down, you make the number to cut more aggressive, and then you start the cut sooner. That's what I'm trying to say.
But here's
I don't
also
know what the
the
math on that
thing.
works.
Here's the interesting thing. If you keep the cut at 7, it was actually perfect for a top 40.
Yeah, but Baldy made a good point about this, though, in one of the chats. The reason they didn't want to do a cut to top 40 is because in the past, when they've experimented with it, everyone just draws in. And so you have the draw in problem.
That's possible. But I think
at 40 players, it's very easy.
Having the top
it's very
8,
easy
though,
to draw in.
but having the top 8 makes it like reward winning really, really well. I'm a huge fan
I
of
think
that.
I think for the I think it helps the top end getting rid of the top end draw. But for a lot of players who are right on the bubble, they're just going to try and draw in if they can.
Sure. I mean, that's always going to be a thing to some extent. Like I still had
Yeah,
a few draws. It happens.
yeah, yeah. I I don't know where I stand on that particularly. Like, I think a cut top 40 would be sick. I think
Yeah. I
incentive
wish they'd try
like
it.
one of the cool things about the Invitational when they did the like, okay, you win if you're in seat 1 if this goes to draw, is it does start to incentivize you. I wish we would have known maybe they announced it pre-tournament, but I did not know that till I sat down.
Yeah.
But that does incentivize playing for the first seed a little bit more. And I might have played a little bit more aggressively had I known that there's that big of an advantage to seat 1. I mean, there already is an
Right.
advantage, right? But not
Yeah.
that big to where it's like, holy shit, like I just win if this game goes to time. That's kind of
Yeah,
nutty.
but I'm never playing for time. I hate that shit.
Well, right,
It is
but
what it
like,
is.
but it is an advantage, right? Because now
Sure.
the clock is on your side and instead of against you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the clock
valid.
is not your enemy in a game where you win if it goes to time. So, like, that's an incentive to play for the top seed. And I think a top 40 getting into the top 8 is an incentive enough for the top end players who are already doing well to continue to grind into there. Because what's the point? That I think that was the other issue, right? Is there's no point, like, once you hit a certain threshold, there's no point to playing anymore because you're either not good enough to make it into top 8, like, your points aren't good enough to get there regardless, and you're still kind of already like you're kind of already locked in a top 40. I think I saw an argument was there. So then
Yeah.
you're incentivized to just draw because there's nothing that you gain by winning. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I do
I
kind of
disagree.
understand. Yeah. I understand the argument though.
Yeah, I get it, but I hope it's something to experiment with in the future. I think it would be super cool, especially for events that size, because like I'm about to explain, like it was pretty crazy competitive near the end there to get to top
Yeah.
16 out of that many players. I'm going to wrap up my tournament pretty quickly here. My round 1, I was actually against a B. I was on the play and was able to just rip a turn 3 win. That was like very much non-deterministic. I kept a hand that was like 2 lands, Cloud of Fairies, some bullshit. It was like absolutely nothing special. I had a crop rot for Cradle. I think I literally went turn 1 like land, crop rot for Cradle, pass type thing. But what I was able to do was I drew a fetch land and I drew a creature tutor, and that put me in a really nice spot where my last card in my hand, I was on a Mulda 6 and I was fiddling between, do I keep this? Oh yeah, I had a finale in hand. So my thought process was, do I keep this Phantasmal Image, which on turn 3 lets me go Cloud of Fairies, Phantasmal Image, Cloud of Fairies, finale for Seedborn, or do I keep this Springheart into go to leave open the like enchant my fucking Cloud of Fairies line? And I decide to go for the upside of the Springheart Intugo, which at the moment when I made the decision, I was really worried it was a mistake. And then my like first draw on turn 1 was a fetch land for my turn 3, and I was like, that was the right choice. So I end up on turn 3 just going Cloud of Fairies, enchant that motherfucker with a Springheart Intugo, fetch land, make a Cloud of Fairies, crack it, make a Cloud of Fairies, and then just like absolutely stormed off from there. Was able to get there, and it just kind of worked out perfectly. Was able to just get a really nice turn 3 win on the play, and then a B looked at me, revealed his hand that was just like protected, pact of negation, Hazel Brewmaster win, and was like, it was either me or you, brother. And I was like, okay, good shit to know. He couldn't pay for his pack though, so he wasn't going to do that, which like I think is absolutely the correct play on like especially a non-deterministic Springheart enchanting line where I like don't have too much going on. Like I think it's correct to definitely not pack there and just like hope I whiff.
Yeah.
Because then he just has the win. So got a quick one there. My round 2 went all the way to time, which the only thing I want to talk about related to this game was what I did at time, which we were in our 20 minutes, and it definitely seemed, I'm not accusing my opponents of stalling in any regard, but it definitely seemed like when we knew it was coming up, they were starting to like overly politic over every play I was doing to like see if they got to the 20 minutes because we don't know how long it's be. And it had pretty clearly been a while since the round had ended. And I was starting to get a little bit frustrated because they weren't just pushing game actions. And I had the feeling that they absolutely had nothing they could do about anything. So I finally got to the point. The judge was standing over my shoulder, and I just revealed cards from my hand. I was like, here's my tutor for Oboro. Here's my way to get Talon Gates. Here's my win line fully presented. Can you guys actually do anything about this? And I revealed it to the judge, and I was like, I just want to make it a point to say to you, I am revealing my deterministic win line right now before time is over and asking if they can actually do anything about this, because I don't want to waste time on us politicking every single card I put on the stack to push for time. Because it felt like that's what they were trying to do. And the judge just looked at them and was like, does anyone have anything to say about any of these spells that he's offering to cast in this order? And they all were just kind of like, no, we don't actually have anything. And he was like, okay, what do you do with your infinite mana? And I was like, cool, from this position, I will draw my deck, do the snap thing, brain freeze you guys out, and then Fairy Mastermind. And they were like, cool, you got it. But I just want to point that out to people as a thing to do in the future. If you have your complete win in hand and you have the feeling that your opponent's done of shit and they're just talking to talk, literally just reveal your cards with the judge standing there and say, here's my win line. Can anyone actually stop this? Because the judge is on your side in that scenario. And I think it was absolutely the correct call of the judge, but to just say, hi, he's presented these cards. Can you guys do anything about this or not? And they could not.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Definitely always stand up for yourself, because people are always going to angle shoot you if they can.
Yeah, people are, especially with 20 minutes, like people are pushing for time. And a player in this event of this size that was this competitive, like people were going to do everything they could. But I was super fortunate to be able to start off 2-0. Round 3 was a really shitty draw that went to time. It was a game that I absolutely win if we had more time. It was a game that I had to start off really, really slow. My buddy Dallas was on, was it Malcolm Vile or was it just Rog Side? Oh, no, he was on Blue Farm. He was playing, we know Dallas. Dallas is a pusher. Dallas goes turbo. And the interesting thing about this game is Dallas was on the play, and turn 2, I see him stare at his hand for like a little too long and then decide to go DRC Imperial Seal. And to me, with what I know about Dallas, I know in my heart that this motherfucker absolutely just put Underworld Breach on top of his library. Like, why else are you going DRC Imp Seal there after thinking that hard? That's not a situation that you're like getting a Ristic Study. And so I draw for my turn 2, and my top deck is exactly Beseiju, which is the only answer that I have to this breach, because I think I mulled like a little bit low and my hand just wasn't that good. And so I literally look at the table, or I talk to Dallas first. I go, hey, Dallas, that's an Underworld Breach on top of your library, correct? And he goes, I will not confirm or deny. And I go, okay, so me and you both know that's an Underworld Breach on top of your library. I know that you like to push. I literally said pregame, like, Dallas is a pusher. He's going to try and win the game immediately. And so I reveal my Beseiju to the table, and I go, this is all I have. And if I choose to do this, my turn is literally playing a land, playing Rograk, and passing, sacrificing any form of development that I could have on this turn in turn 2 from third seat, which is ridiculous to try and do. And so I said to the table, I said, if this is actually our only answer to the breach that I know is on top of his library, it was 100% Underworld Breach. Yes, it was Underworld Breach. I was correct. Then I will hold this up. But I am only willing to do this if you guys prove to me that this is the only option we have in all of our hands to defend against this Underworld Breach. And so both other players showed me their hands and could, in fact, not do fucking anything about an Underworld Breach. So I did. And people were like crazy when I explained the story. Like, you got your opponents to show your hands. I was like, I offered to do nothing that turn but hold up a fucking Beseiju when we know there's a breach on top. And Dallas like pretty much admitted it was in fact breach. So yes, the other players showed me their hands. They had jack shit nothing for it. And that led to this really weird political game where the Lotha player was actually in this pod. And he top decked a Drannith Magistrate after showing me his hand, which would have answered the breach anyway, very thankfully. But I didn't know that at the time, and it wasn't his hand at the time. And then me not playing my Thrasios really fucked me. And so then I had to go through this really slow process of like Expedition Map for Talon Gates, to Talon Gates the Drannith, to get out my Thrasios, to start very slow development. And then I eventually got out of Seedborn Muse. And then I'm in the best position in the game, but at that point the game had taken too long and it was a draw. And from there, yeah, it was just like a lot of draws and being very specific in the tournament. I got dunked on by Blue Farm round 4. I believe it was my round 5 that I was able to get another win, which was really, really nice. My round 6 was a game we agreed to draw mid-game, which was the only mid-game draw I had this tournament. I've been very much trying to avoid those. This was just a really fucked game where no one had anything going on because Derevi played a Drannith Magistrate on turn 2. And it was before anyone got out anything. And so my entire hand was based on Biomancers activating Thrasios, so I couldn't do shit. And then I cloned a Derevi and had some answers for him, so he couldn't really do shit. And so we're all just kind of sitting there, Ranger Captains and Drannith Magistrates, not able to fucking do anything. And we were just like, we all understand this game isn't going anywhere. Let's draw. Blue Farm was laughing his fucking ass off because like he revealed his hand to me, and his hand was like Smothering Tithe, Underworld Breach, Grand Abolisher, Demonic Tutor, removal for one of the Dranniths. But like he can't beat double Drannith Ranger Captain. So he's like, this is a ridiculous hand to look at and want to draw this game, but I know I have no chance in this game. So I was able to go in to my day 2 at 17 points, which felt really, really good. I had 3 wins and 2 draws. I felt like I was in good position. And then, round 7 comes along. I don't want to talk about it too much. That was my most frustrating game of the tournament by an absolute mile. I hated every second of the game. It was an absolutely miserable experience, and it ended in a draw. So then I'm at 18 points. And 18 points was a really weird thing because we've never had an 8-round Swiss event with 500 people before. And I have no idea if a draw gets me in at 19 points. And I'd been telling people I thought 19 was the bubble. And so it was something that I was really hemming and hawing on in my brain if I was even willing to take a draw in that game or if I thought I had to win. It ended up being a really cool game. It was against my buddy Tim. He was on the play on Blue Farm. I was on fucking 4th seat for Rogthras, which, let me tell you, going into my final round that I'm viewing as a win in and getting given 4th seat feels like shit. That was a super frustrating notification to look at on my phone. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And this game was so weird. This game was just like, I ended up keeping a mid-ass hand that I probably shouldn't have kept, that just had some interaction. And I was like, I just got to survive and like hope that I can continue. It was Blue Farm on the play, Rocco going second, another Rogthras going third, different than mine. He played several cards that were different, that were not in my deck. And, Tim gets off to a decent start with an Esper Sentinel. Rocco gets down a bunch of mana really, really quickly, which is terrifying because Rocco is just like 7 mana win the game at this point. And then Rogthras gets off to like a crazy Cradle, Deserted Temple, Minamo, Biomancer start because they have, they end up with a Temple Discovery. I got so lucky in this game that my turn 1 top deck was Mystic Remora. What a banger draw, baby. So I top decked the Mystic Remora, which completely changes my game actions. I think what my hand was going to be was like turn 1, using an Elvish Spirit Guide with a Gemstones to get out a Nature's Rhythm for 2 to get Biomancers on turn 1. But it ended up changing to just like land, fish, Elvish Spirit Guide, Soul Ring or something like that, however it worked out to be. So I did that. And then it turned into like the slow grind game where I'm not really doing anything. I'm just interacting. And, we're at the position that we know Rocco can win the game in his next turn. Like we know for a fact Rocco can win the game for his next turn. And I'm able to throw out a creature tutor for a Seaboard Muse. And the player who decides to interact with it is the other Rogthras player. And I try and make a deal with him. I'm like, look, brother, I have pieces of interaction in my hand for Rocco because I have Mindbreak Trap and Crop Rotation, but I am tapped out in the casting of this Seedborn. And one of the things I purposefully do when I get a Seedborn like that, especially if I have that interaction, is I'm able to tell them that I have this interaction and say, I just need the untap. Like, I'll make a deal to not activate Thrasios. I'll take away your concern. Or I'll make a deal to like activate it one time in the cycle or whatever value I can get out of the deal. But like it varies. This guy was having none of it. And I told him straight up, I was like, I will not activate Thrasios a single time. I need the untap so we do not lose this game. And like I have the pieces of interaction to stop it. If you do not give me the untap, I cannot do anything. And he decided, I just can't let you have a Seedborn, man. And counters it. And I'm like, cool, we lose. That's where I was at in my head. And then Tim untaps and immediately goes for a win right after that. And incredibly fortunately, this man draws me 3 straight counters on 3 straight cards. So when he puts his Underworld Breach on the stack, I'm able to show him Mindbreak Trap and Force of Will and say, which one do I use or do you want to take it back? Was my exact words for words. And he goes, okay, I'll take it back. So he takes it back. And then Rocco untaps, casts Voice of Victory. I use the Force of Will on the Voice of Victory. I purposefully pitch my Pact of Negation to that, where I say, I'm not using a Pact if he goes for something again. I know Tim has a Pact, but he can't pay for it. But I'm just like, I'm not going to Pact of Negation here if he goes for it again. I lose the game if I use that here. I'm pitching it to this Force. Whatever. And the next thing he does is immediately throws Rocco for 7 on the stack. And I tell them, I'm like, Tim, it's on you, brother. Which when he cast Voice Victory, I looked at Tim and I said, if you have a silence, cast that silence now, because I cannot stop the follow-up, and the follow-up will not cast another spell. And he says, no, I'm good. Decides not to cast silence. He recognizes that one was a mistake. So he puts the Rocco on the stack, and at that point, the only thing we can do is Tim can go Pact of Negation, silence, mental misstep his silence, have me use my Mind Break Trap to also get rid of his Pact of Negation as part of the deal so he doesn't have to pay it. Draw me 3 cards in the process, stop Rocco. And we also make a deal with the other Rogthrast player when we do that. Like, hey, if we're using all of these cards and all of this resource to stop Rocco, we just want to know we're getting another turn. You can develop however you want, but like you're not winning the game in your turn. And he looked at his hand, he was like, I can't do that anyway, so sure. So, he gets another turn, doesn't do very much with it. I go to my turn, and I end up drawing Cloud of Fairies. And that opened up some lines to me because I still had that Nature's Rhythm in my graveyard. And so I cast my Cloud of Fairies, and I'm looking at my hand, and my only non-creature spells are a Snap and a Born Upon a Wind. And I do have Cradle and Deserted Temple at this point. I got the Cradle from the Temple of Discovery early, and I was able to draw into the Deserted Temple. And I'm looking at this hand where I don't have a lot of creatures, and I'm like, okay, I can get a Displacer Kitten, and I'm able to send a incredibly non-deterministic line where I don't have a Biomancers or anything to make it cheaper. I only have like 4 creatures, so I'm only making 7 mana. I would have to rip like perfect non-creature to even have a chance of this going anywhere. And I decide that the odds on that play were so low that it was better for me, even though I'm looking at Blue Farm probably winning on their turn and Rocco probably winning on their turn, to just get a Seedborn and pass and hope. And the way my mana was set up, because I used a Mana Vault earlier to try and do the first Nature's Rhythm for Seedborn and that kind of a thing. So like when I got my Seedborn and untapped, I did have like 14 mana on the battlefield. Like it was a pretty good chunk of mana, but my Thraster's activations still cost 4. They weren't 2 of the Biomancers or anything like that. So it was still like not that deep. And I've already gotten rid of Pact, used Mind Break Trap, used Force of Will. Like a lot of interaction is out of my hand. And I go to Tim's turn after my untap. First spell, Voice of Victory. I'm like, fucking, you gotta be kidding me, bro. And so I'm like, okay, no one has anything, right? And they're like, yeah, we don't have fucking shit. And I'm like, okay, let me start activating Thrasios. And at this point, I also know that Tim doesn't have anything. I still have Force of Negation and Fluster in hand, but those don't matter against a Voice of Victory. So no one has anything. My Force and Fluster are completely dead. It's whatever. I activate Thrasios a few times. I then use my remaining mana to like snap the Orcish Lumberjack on Rocco's board to try and take him off of a win attempt on his turn if Tim isn't able to get there for whatever reason. And I activate Thrasios again, and I end up getting Springheart and Tuco. And at that point, I say fuck it. And I reveal Born Upon a Wind and Springheart and Tuco to Tim. And I say, here's the deal. I know you don't have shit. I'm going to cast this Born Upon a Wind. I'm going to cast this Springheart and Tuco, bestowing it on my Cloud of Fairies. I'm going to activate Thrasios like 2 more times here. And I'm either going to get here on this non-deterministic line, or you got it, brother. And he said, sounds great, bro. And so I go Born Upon a Wind, bestow my Springheart and Tuco onto my Cloud of Fairies. And some of my previous Thrasios activations from his turn from when I was going were Mox Amber and Lotus Petal. So I end up like getting a few Thrasios activations, can't hit a land. I end up in a position with 3 mana left on Cradle, and so I play Mox Amber. Oh, sorry. So I end up with my last Thrasios activation that only leaves me with 3 mana on Cradle, gets me Displacer Kitten. And at that point, even if I play the Mox Amber and I activate Thrasios again, I hit a land, I cannot pay for the Springheart and Tuco trigger to make another Cloud of Fairies. So at that point, that line is just over. So I end up saying, okay, my only out here is Mox Amber, tap the Mox Amber and the 3 Cradle mana, play Displacer Kitten, cast Lotus Petal as my only castable non-creature spell in hand, flicker Cloud of Fairies. And I am able to fucking somehow storm off from that position where my last Thrasios activation on that gets me Expedition Map. I play Expedition Map, untap my shit again, where, the Springheart and Tuco becomes a creature. So I have Cloud of Fairies Displacer again. It's making like 9 mana per time now because I have 5 creatures. And then my next Thrasios activation after Expedition Map gets me Chain of Vapor, which fortunately I had the Lotus Petal Blue exactly to cast. So I'm able to Chain of Vapor, bouncing Mox Amber, Soul Ring, Expedition Map, Mana Vault, Storm, make like 70 mana, win the game.
Nice.
So that one was a really good win. I was super proud of that one. I felt bad to take out Tim. Even he was clearly a little frustrated. He was like, with my fucking voice of victory on the goddamn stack, you had to do it to me. But it put me in with 23 points. Super unfortunately, 5th seed overall going into top 16. So I did not get into be on the play for my top 16 game. And then my top 16 game was just like pretty much a non-game. Lotho like snap keeps, I think it was second 7, but like snap keeps second 7. I'm all down to a really shitty 5 of 1 land, Birds of Paradise, Arcane Signet, Fairy Mastermind, Clever Impersonator. Glarb mulls to 6, where he clearly didn't look super happy about it. And Blue Farm mulled to 2 or 3. Like, it was pretty bad. It was really, really bad. Where the way they mulled, they specifically were like, let me order these bottom cards in my library. And I was like, oh, so Thoracle's in that pile. And they were like, maybe. It was. Which mattered because they did on turn 2 they tried to rip a Demcon crack LED for 3 blue.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so Glarb had the Flusterstorm for them, and they were just like, let me name Rhystic Study. And he was like, we're in a top 16 game. I don't know if you're actually going to name Rhystic Study, so I don't know you. So I'm just going to counter it, because someone could, which I don't think the Blue Farm player was Sky, and Sky does not at all seem to me like someone who would lie. I would trust them. I probably would have let them get Rhystic. It is what it is, but I totally understand that guy's position of you don't know. And then it wouldn't have really mattered because Lotho's position was they went nuts. I mean, they were on the play, and even to them, they openly admitted they kept an absolute god hand. They had like 5 mana on turn 1 into, end step Enlightened Tutor for the 1 ring, into turn 3 Protected Silence, like immediate dub. Really funny, when they played the 1 ring on turn 2, the exact thought crossed through my head where I had Breeding Pool, Birds of Paradise in second seat. I said, wow, if I top deck Ancient Tomb here, that would be so good. And then I top decked Ancient Tomb, and I said, wow, that was so good. And then I played Clever Impersonator. and I tapped my 1 ring, and I drew a card, and it was Mystic or more. And I was like, damn, I really have a shot in this one. Like, that was cooking. Like, top decking that Ancient Tomb, I was like, holy shit, I really have a chance. And Lotho said, nah, brother, I'm winning right now. You do not get a turn 3. And that was it. That was the end of my tournament, which I am proud that I top 16 the largest tournament of all time. I'm not trying to take away from that, but with the way I view myself and the expectations that I have for myself, it absolutely still feels like a failure, and I'm not even the least bit satisfied with the result.
Yeah, I feel like that's how we both feel, right? Like, we did well objectively in every measurable conceivable way. You and I had a great weekend and did great in our performances, but it still feels like we left a lot on the table.
Yeah,
is really what it feels like.
Yeah,
a little unsatisfying.
I am unsatisfied. I do not feel good about how this weekend ended. Yeah, but yeah, that was our weekend. That was the Steel City Spectacular and the Top Deck Invitational. Overall, a successful yet not quite satisfying weekend for both of us.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think, like I said, we left stuff on the table, but overall, good weekend. There's some minor stuff, right? Like we said at the beginning, there's nitpicking, right? The 3 pods sucked for the Invitational.
Yeah. I guess let's do like a quick feedback session on that. Yeah. So 3 pods, what were your other things you've heard?
The judging wasn't always the best. And it's not to criticize judges. And I try not to, because unfortunately I've had to judge events that I did not want to judge, and I have not always done a great job judging. So I'm no shade whatsoever thrown at judges. But you expect certain rulings should be kind of obvious. Like, I felt like the Deadpool ruling was a little egregious. That one, for those who don't know, there's a misruling on Deadpool about how it enters and how that actually all works. And the judge misplayed it, and that was on the stream game. Or misruled it, and that was on the stream game, and that did affect the outcome of the game. And I don't want to get into all the details of it. If you want to look, you can look it up. I'm sure Logan will cover it since that was his game. But like, those are the kind of things you'd expect in an Invitational. Like, the judges are going to be on their A game, and I don't necessarily feel like that was always the case. And again, I'm trying not to put that much criticism on them, because judging is fucking hard, and you're not always going to get it right, and you know that going into it. There were also times where the judge calls took a little too long to like show up at the table or to kind of make a decision. So like, we'd sit there for a minute. But I think, again, we're nitpicking, right? Like, the 3 pods sucked. And if I had feedback for Zane, I'd say, I think next year just move. if there's a weird situation, just move it to 68. Nobody cared if it would have been 68. Legitimately, I think everyone there all agreed it would have been
the
fine at
three pods
68.
were atrocious. Like I heard terrible things about the three pods. People were like genuinely upset about them. And from a viewing perspective, it wasn't just like there was one three pods. Like there were some players, if you were in the bottom brackets, Jonathan Vick played in 6 fucking three pods. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily fair to the players. And I think that's the only like real feedback is I think next year if there's another weird situation where you have an uneven amount, just bump it. I don't think it's that big of a deal to allow 68. I understand like 65 was a little frustrating, but I also don't agree with like kicking Logan out because he had 100%. To backtrack on his pulling it, or maybe give people a little bit more of a runway.
Quick context there.
Yeah, he had a kid.
No, but not just that. The due date of his child was supposed to be mid-August. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be like August 14th or something around that date, plus or minus a few days, whatever. Mid-August. That was the due date of his child. They asked for people to confirm if they were able to go or not. Like, I want to say 2 weeks before, something in that range, 2.5 weeks before. And like Logan said, hey, my kid's due at that time. I'm not going to be able to go. That's what he told them. His kid was born within 24 hours of him saying that. His wife went into labor early. So he had the child and was able to message them back within 24 hours. Hey, I had the kid. I can go. I 100% agree that it was the correct call to let Logan play. I think that is absolutely the correct 100%. Call. I think it was the incorrect call to not bump it to 68.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I think it would have been a minor fix. And, I think that's just feedback for Zane. Like, hey, I understand where he was coming from, and he didn't want to keep making exceptions, but I think that would have been fine. And I think in the future, maybe just write something into the terms of service that says we have the right to, we reserve the right to move up and down the players as we choose. And, we'll try to make it 64, but situations are going to happen where it might be a few extra. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and be like, that's not fair. We signed up for 64. Don't allow 4 more players in? No one's going to care. We just wanted even pods, I think is what it came down to.
That was the biggest thing I heard was the pods were a big thing. And then the judges I do want to tack on. It's not just the judge calls that were fucked up, which you're playing at Pro REL. There is no excuse for judges to make a mistake at Pro REL at an invitational that people have worked for all year. I actually think that that's like an atrocious thing on the judges. And I know I'm going to shit on the judges a little bit here. I'm okay with that. I think they need to do better. And I think that that's actually unacceptable to be making incorrect calls of that level. Additionally, I was shown legitimate pictures from people, and I watched it myself several times, of like the head judge just sitting on his cell phone, like not paying attention to anything when he was supposed to be watching games. And like personally, like that's incredibly disappointing to me to watch a bunch of my friends play in a tournament that they have worked all year to get to, and it's supposed to be handled at this professional REL level. It's blocked off by red velvet things, and some of the judges looked apathetic and uninvolved. And that to me was just very disappointing to see. So my biggest criticisms are the player count leading to the 3 pods, not for letting in Logan, but for not making it get to a point of being even pods of 4. And then genuinely, I am very disappointed watching the judges. I thought that was like actually unacceptable behavior for what that event was supposed to be, or really any event. Like I get it. If you're a judge on your locals and you're the one judge in your 4 and you want to take 5 minutes to like sit down and take a break, that's a very different scenario than you are at a pro REL event at an invitational that people have worked all year for. You need to respect the effort that people have put into that event, and you need to have your top judge game going the entire time that event is going on.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
But
it is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, the rounds ran smoothly. Everything went fast. The quality of game was high. For me personally, I know some players, it was not always that way. But honestly, I can only speak to my own experiences. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the draw meta. I think going into it, we knew that was going to be the case. Like, that's just the nature of playing with good players, good at not losing. So I don't really have any criticism around that. And those are structural issues that aren't on Top Deck or that event anyway. So that's something judges and other players will figure out at some point, other organizers, as we continue to massage the rules and figure out what works and what doesn't for CEDH. So,
I will say, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, other than that, I mean, everything else was smooth. And I think it was back to basics, right? And Is That a Good Card? Did a phenomenal job casting the game. Their graphics were super cool. I am still geeked out about the super sick graphic they made about me.
I literally showed. Pull it up on the screen.
But like, I even showed my parents. I was like, look at this shit. Like because they don't always understand. But like, that's how geeked out I was about it. I was like, holy shit! Like, I feel like a professional player. And there's
Cool.
not a lot of tournaments where you get to like have that experience. So, yeah, I can't say enough nice things about a lot of aspects. Like you said, there's a little bit of things that can be cleaned up for next year and can be done better. And I look forward to seeing Top Deck do that. So
Yeah. And I will say for the Open as well, I may be slightly biased based on the fact that I won my first couple games, which put me into the quote unquote top pods immediately. But the game quality Open also felt very, very high. Like when I was playing all of my pods, it pretty much through and through felt like experienced players who knew what they were doing. Generally, I think the only player that wasn't that way was in my round 7, the super frustrating game. There was one player who openly admitted he was newer to the format, and I felt the other players kind of took advantage of that a little bit. That's what was very frustrating to me. Not going to get into it, but like overarchingly, the games were really good, and the players seemed to be like at the top of their game and absolutely knowing what they were doing. It didn't just feel like, oh, these are DMV players, they're scrubs. It was, no, I'm still playing against top tier CDH players who are here to fucking win and know how to win.
that's always good too, because you never really know. But I felt the same way at the Open last year, right? Like, even though 64 of the best players were sitting on the other floor, the quality competition was still extremely high. So.
The reality is there's way more than 64 good players in this format.
Well, plus, I mean, you and Ian were also playing in the Open for various reasons, that we're not going to get into, but like that's like
and
1
Maddie,
and 2, right?
And Maddie.
Oh yeah, and Maddie too. Yeah, like that's what 1, 3, and like 6 of the best players in the world by ELO.
Going into the Open, we were all top 4. It was 3 of the top 4.
Even nuttier, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nutty. So you have like some of the best players in the world who just did not play in the Invitational for various personal reasons. So,
which also extra fucking shout out to Dexter and Jace. I do want to say, like, they've been coming up a little bit on Twitter lately, but I do think it's worth calling out, like, the next generation of fucking dope ass players is starting to come up, and it's really cool to see because you had the kind of old guard of CDH. And then 2023 came where you got a lot of players like myself and Waffle and even Jorman and Andy and Kevin starting to like come to prominence. And that's kind of our generation of CDH. And then you got some more players like yourself who became prominent in 2024. And, there hasn't been a lot of names that have come out in 2025 that it's like, oh, these are the fucking killers that are the new players, except for Jason Dexter, who are these super young kids that are both smart as fuck and know exactly what they're doing. Jace plays Blue Farm, Dexter plays Rogsai. Dexter top forward the Open on Rogsai. Phenomenal Magic player, plays all out turbo Rogsai, no holds barred. Like the closest thing to pre-ban Rogsai you can get pretty much. And then Jace plays like a super cool version of Blue Farm with Stormkill Artist and stuff like that. And, he was in the Andy game that like no one technically won the game, but like he put win attempts on the stack. He made it that far. He played phenomenally. He's a super smart kid.
Was Jace also the one crazy enough not to run Thoracle Consult and Tainted Pact?
Let me check. Top Deck Invitational.
Or is that just a rumor?
Let me check. I think that might be the case, but I wanna double check. He does not play Thassa's Oracle.
That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah.
Like the crazy Texas people showed up without Thoracle in their blue farms.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like some of the cards Jace is on that are a little unique for Blue Farm, I guess. There's not that many that are crazy, but he's chosen to be on like a Mayhem Devil Taru style package. He's on Stormkill Artist, which like that man I've talked to him about Stormkill Artist. Like he preaches that card is insane. He's on some more niche cards that you don't always see, like Snapback. He's on Orm's Chant. He's on an Offer You Can't Refuse. He has a slightly higher counterspell package than other people. Like a little bit more silence effects, on less talismans, just like a lot of free rocks. With Blue Farm, it's never that deep. He's on slightly less lands, only on 26, but that's because he has so much more like treasure production.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting list. Oh, and he's also on Flame Scroll Celebrant, which is a cool one. Just more.
I like that one.
He's generically on more silence effects, more mana. Oh, and he's on Demonic Council as well. Yeah. And Beseech the Mirror. Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. I've heard there's some like really interesting list builds out there, and it does seem like the treasure centric Blue Farm builds are becoming a little bit more popular. Like we were talking about Knuckles a lot before the tournament.
they have a really nice package now where if you're on Ragavan, Lotho, Professional Facebreaker, Taru, Knuckles, and Mayhem Devil, the combination, especially if you also have Delny in your list and you're like full mid-range, you end up
And you run
making
Malcolm
so
and Glitthorn.
many treasures that when you have that many treasures, it's very interesting that like Mayhem Devil turns them into board control. Oh, and Smothering Tithe as well in the treasure package. But Mayhem Devil turns them into board control. Professional Facebreaker turns them into card advantage. So you're able to like use your treasures as more than just mana, which is a really interesting thing to do.
And Lily ran Malcolm in hers.
She ran Malcolm Glinthorn in her 99. True to her soul. I respect it. That's like, of the Blue Farm players, the thing I respected the most in the entire event.
And the fact that she almost caught Zach, Andy, and Bailey, last year's top deck winner, on it in a round is hilarious too.
So good, dude. No one sees it
coming. Almost. Not quite. Andy had the chain for her, but
yeah,
super funny.
Did she cast the Glinthorn? And he was like, what
no,
the
she
fuck?
did. It got chain of vapored.
Oh, no, dude. That's so gas, though.
But she thought she was actually going to pull off I really wanted her to pull off one win with Malcolm Glinthorn. That would have been hilarious.
That would have like made the whole tournament for her. She would have been so happy.
Oh, yeah. She'd be like, I don't even care what happens anymore. I got Malcolm Glinthorn to do the thing in Blue Farm. It's like, 100%. Even if I can't bring the pirate, I'm bringing the pirate.
Yeah. She's known for one thing and one thing only, and it is cucking people with Glinthorn Cuckineer.
Oh, yeah. What a mad lad. Or lass, I guess.
Will this still turn into a 2-hour podcast?
Oops. Sorry, audience. Because I'm not going to cut this down past 2 hours. It's barely going to be under 2 hours. There's like 15 minutes to cut.
Yeah, it's not too much. Thank you so much for listening to the Colors of Crutch podcast. We appreciate you as always. If you're interested in joining our Discord, we'll have a link to that in the description below. If you're interested in joining our Patreon, supporting the show, we'll have a link to that description below. As always, thank you so much for listening. My name is Max Sternberg, also known as Wounded I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Jordan Drake, aka Steeleddragon. We both independently offer CDH coaching. Feel free to hit us up on Discord or Twitter or whatever other means if you're interested in that. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you next time.
Do the coaching. We want to coach. We like coaching. It's fun. And I want to talk about Tree Farm. Everywhere I go, I just want to talk about this deck. So if you really want to know more about Tree Farm TNT, reach out because I want to talk about it. Please. I beg you. And all the people around me who have to listen to me talk about it, beg you as well.
It's got to piss you off that I did a TNT session lately. I did one recently.
You didn't even tell me about that.
No, I don't think I did.
Was it Tree Farm?
No, it was regular TNT. I showed them your list though.
What did he say?
Interesting. Maybe. Check it out.
That's the nice way of saying no.
I mean, I think it is a cool way to build a deck. I just think I stand by Rogthras is just better if you're doing those things. But I hear you. Yeah.
You're wrong.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this after the podcast.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.